Hi, welcome to my craft room. We're focusing on a card for Dad. This could be a birthday card, or you might want to use that for Father's Day, which is coming up in a little bit later on down the road. This is going to be a square card. Our card stock is the Rich Razzleberry, and it measures 10.5 by 5 1/4 to make a 5 1/4 inch square card. With our Bigs die, I am using the lattice. I have the Island Indigo cut in a 3 3/4 inch square. You want to save those little diamonds that you're punching out. We're going to use those to help decorate the inside of our card. I'm going to show you just a little bit different way of working with that lattice. This is the Sizzlits Die. I have the Rich Razzleberry on the A and the D, and this is the Timeless Type Junior Alphabet. This is on tab 1, and of course you want to do 2 of the D's. And because I want to give this a shadow effect, I'm using the watercolor paper to do my shadow with. Now, when you are going to stamp this, I'm checking my rubber to make sure there's no ink. And there was a little bit there on that edge. So check that, and that way you don't have to stamp it but one time. I'm stamping this onto watercolor paper, and I want my Y's to line up with the cut edge. This will make the perfect size for my banner. And now once I bring my ruler down, I had that ruler edge so that it is lined right up with the top of those letters. Get my right sizing. This is Happiest Birthday Wishes, and to give versatility and working with your lettered stamp set, you can take a marker and just select the words that you want off of that stamp. Isn't that wonderful? I'm using the Island Indigo marker to color that in. And now I've taken not quite navy, and I'm going along just the base of these letters. I'm not coloring in the whole thing, just the base and one side of that exclamation mark. The reason I'm doing that is sometimes when you are coloring letters like that, it gets weak when you get, the coloring gets weak when you get near other letters. So by picking a little bit darker color, that makes sure that comes out nice and crisp. Punch that out with the 1 3/4 inch circle punch. Sometimes some of your lines may be just a little lacking in color. So I take the fine tip of my marker and I just fill those in. It's very easy to do. Snip that, and now you want to cut your V for your banner. Because this is watercolor paper, it's going to be so easy to work with. And here is that beautiful new Smooch Designer Series paper that's coming out April 1st through the 30th. When I am doing distressing, I pick 2 or 3 colors. I start with my lighter color, and this is the River Rock. Now I'm bringing in the Crumb Cake. And always sponge off of the paper onto your designer paper, because you want to have part of that ink color go on that scrap paper. Now this is the Mahogany from our Distressing Essentials. There are 4 different ink colors come in that kit. And this is that beautiful Smooch Designer Series paper. Isn't that beautiful? And this is the stamp set we're working with. It's a Hostess set, Happiest Birthday Wishes. Wonderful set to work with. Now I am sanding. Yes, can you believe it? I'm sanding on this paper. I'm really giving it that age, vintage look. In this distressing kit, you get 3 different files. And now I'm bringing it in so you can really see how that really gives it that age look. Now I'm going over it with the River Rock, and then I'll bring in a little bit of the Crumb Cake. The Crumb Cake's going to be the little bit darker color. And when you're doing this directly onto your paper like that, just single out certain spots that you want to add that color. And now the cutter kit, I am using the 7-sided distressing tool, and each one of these little grooves has the very same blade in it. There's not one sharper or wider than the other. It just gives you variety for ease in doing your distressing, because it might be easier to hold it one way versus another. You see that little tag of ribbon hanging off? I've tied that onto there so that I don't lose it. Anybody out there like me misplace things and can't find it? That ribbon really, really helps to be able to spot it. When you're doing this, you'll notice that I've got my fingers right where I'm doing that distressing. Otherwise, you could tear this paper. Even though this is really a nice, heavy quality of paper, still it could bend or tear. So you want to support it by holding onto the area that you are doing your distressing. Okay, looking good. Now I'm bringing in the mahogany. And you don't want to leave those edges white. I'm going over those. And not just the front portion. I'm going to turn that over and also do the back side as well. Now I'm being very light-handed here. It may look like because I've speeded this up a little bit. Believe me, I'm not that fast. You want to go light-handed because this is a very strong color. On our lattice, I'm picking out the dips in this, where it dips in. That's where I'm distressing it. And then a couple little places on the inside, but don't make the mistake of going all over this. You want to just do certain spots. If you go all over it, you've lost the effect. Now the letters, and just ditto to what I just said. You only want to do certain spots that you want to highlight. Don't color in the paper and make it all the same color. And on those small letters like the A, it's real easy to get heavy-handed and get too much ink. Speaking from experience here. This is watercolor paper as well. I love working with watercolor paper because it's heavy. That's a 140-pound weight. So it really gives a real statement when you're working with, when you want something to stand out, excuse me. But I'm really supporting that as I go around it. And because it's heavier, it's a little bit harder to get that distressed look you're wanting. Now the banner, we're distressing everything. Now I've used the river rock and the crumb cake. Now I'm bringing in the mahogany, and I am barely touching some of these things, just giving it just a tiny little bit. This little banner, be very light-handed. There's not a lot of paper there, and you can really overkill. Taking my bone, and I am shaping this. The beauty of working with watercolor paper is that's going to hold that stability. And see how I'm coming in? I'm not going right to the edge, because then I've ruined all that work I put into that. I want that edge to really look distressed. If you have a craft mat like what I'm working off of here, it's awesome to work with when you're doing this type of artwork, because it's not going to stick. And I don't want the glue that's going to come through this lattice work, I don't want it to stick to something else. Of course, my glue of choice is the mono adhesive. I love it. I'm showing y'all right now where I'm positioning this. It's on the right side, and see how I'm kind of made up my mind where I want to put that. I'm going to put my 2 D's down first, and then the A, I am going to connect the 2 D's by overlapping. What do you think, girls? You like it? Boy, would hope Dad would. Okay, now the crowning touch, adding that A. By using that watercolor paper too, it's giving it a little more body so it stands out a little bit more. Okay, with the handheld punch, I punched my holes, and I'm using the antique brad. These are so beautiful. I'm cutting off a portion of that prong as it wanted to extend over. See how this paper just molds and stays just the way you want. Watercolor paper is more costly, but it's worth it. You use small portions of it. You can see I didn't use a whole lot in making this card, and it's really, really worth it. Even these dimensionals, still the adhesive is loose. It just barely stuck to this lattice, so it's ready to go down onto my card base. And oh wow, is that looking beautiful? I just put little dots of glue onto that lattice work on the back. You do not want to put too much because it'll seep out, and you don't want that. And you want to hold this for just a second, especially where that brad is. It's going to take a little bit for that to adhere onto there. So just be patient, hold it down. What do you think? All right, and look at the inside. I made use of those diamonds as well. Girls, if you don't have a demonstrator, I'm asking you to choose me. I would love to be that person that would be there for you.